Well, there's clearly not a whole lot to talk about after UFC 196. Everything went directly according to plan. Everything that happened that we thought would happen, happened. Conor McGregor, knocked out Nate Diaz in the first round, and Holm head kicked Miesha Tate into submission, and George St-Pierre didn't show up and teased a fight against Robbie Lawler at UFC 200. None of that happened. So just carry on with our merry business and go about business as usual. Of course, everything I just said was a bold-faced lie, and clearly a lot of really impactful things happened at 196. Beginning with the really obvious thing, which is Conor McGregor losing to Nate Diaz on a fight Diaz took on 11 days' notice, with no training camp. And obviously it's a fight where McGregor went up 2 weight classes, so had to pack on 25 pounds to move up from featherweight to take this fight at 170 catchweight. And McGregor, he looked pretty good in the first round, but in the second round it pretty much showed that he was outclassed, that he's not a dude who should be fighting a guy who's walking around like 205 the way Nate Diaz does. And I kind of went with pretty big expectations, that maybe McGregor could win, and that would really change things up as far as the UFC business model about having more divisional fluid fighters. But no, this matchup really kind of reinforced the reason why we have weight classes to begin with. It doesn't matter how good you are at 145. If you're fighting a dude who walks around at 195, and you're fighting at 170, you're going to get beat up. You're going to get tore up. That's just the way it is. It's just the physics. That's just the science behind it. Big will always beat strong. Sorry, it's just the way it is. We're not in the Hoist Gracie fighting, Chemo Leopold days, where you can just, rely on sheer talent, because everybody's talented. Everybody's multifaceted. Everyone's nuanced. And when you have guys that are very well-rounded, with great jiu-jitsu, great boxing, all that stuff, and have all these commonalities, the bigger guy usually wins. He's got more weight to throw around, he's stronger, he's more dominant. And that's what the McGregor versus Diaz fight demonstrated. That, big dudes still are the favorites in fights for a reason. And as far as the long-term impact of this fight, I think it's really unusual. Because I don't think it actually hurts McGregor as much or the UFC product, because it was a fight on short notice. McGregor's still a dude where you look at him as his domain is 145, 155. He's a dude that's not hesitant to fight anybody. He's going to fight no matter what. He's going to be a draw. But I think this really puts a damper on his interdivisional aspirations. Because going to this fight, there talks about him, beating Robbie Lawler, and holding 3 belts simultaneously, which I think has kind of brought that discussion a little bit back down to reality, where we're saying, okay, McGregor, he's good as a featherweight because he's big, but maybe he shouldn't be fighting, Carlos Condit. He shouldn't be fighting Nate Diaz. He should be fighting guys, in his own weight class. And I think this actually may make it a little bit more unlikely for him to kind of sojourn out in the 155 division. It doesn't seem like it's that big of an increase, but just, seeing what we saw here, where if the guy is stronger, if the guy is bigger, if the guy has that natural weight, it's going to be a big factor in the fight. It's going to change things. And I think what this does, just because of what we saw, I don't think we're going to end up seeing McGregor versus Dos Anjos at UFC 200. I think we'll probably either see McGregor versus Edgar at 145, or probably the likeliest thing in the world is to do a rematch with Aldo, because McGregor can win that one. It's a safe pick. He's not going to go in there and get drubbed, but Aldo can make it exciting. You might have a trilogy out of it. So I think after UFC 196 and this really bizarre failed experiment at 170, we're definitely going to be seeing McGregor sticking to the 145 division. And I see him come July going up against Aldo in a rematch for the featherweight championship. All right, the other big upset. Miesha Tate beat Holm late in the 5th round. Very, very, very good match. Right up there with Condit and Lawler in January and the Bisping Silva fight we had a few weeks back. And obviously this sets up Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate 3. Probably going to be the UFC 200 main event. But that could change. There could be a huge wild card there, but it seems unlikely that wouldn't be the big draw for the summer. You know, it's just one of those things where I look at this and it's complete Rochambeau. It's rock, scissors, paper, where Rousey beats Tate, Tate beats Holm, and Holm beats Rousey. So we have this weird, like, WCW Cruiserweight Division circa 1996 thing going on, where, you know, Rey Mysterio beats Ultimo Drago gets beat by Dean Malenko. You know, that whole, you know, trial rivalry. Probably Rochambeau was a better analysis there. I should have went with that one instead of throwing out this really bizarre wrestling reference. But, I mean, you know, Rousey, she dominated the first 2 fights. And the UFC clearly wants Rousey back on the market, the belt. And clearly that sets up, you know, Holly Holm taking on, like, Miesha Korea or somebody else. And clearly kind of gunning for, you know, either Holm versus Rousey 2, like in November, or Tate versus Holm 2 in November, but she's got to have a fight in between. So yeah, Rousey versus Tate, obviously going to happen in UFC 200. And Holly Holm, like I said, he's got to fight somebody, get another win back in title fray, so there's that. But the big one, and this is the one that I totally did not see coming. It changes like the entire trajectory of the UFC planning for UFC 200 and beyond. George St-Pierre. George St-Pierre looks like he might be coming back to the octagon a whole lot sooner than later. And if that's the case, you automatically have to give the dude the title fight. So GSP hasn't fought since, 2013? Against Johnny Hendricks, UFC 167. Coming back, his big layoff, returning to the octagon, taking on Robbie Lawler. A dude who likes to bang. A guy that's shown that he can beat the crap out of championship wrestlers. A guy that shows that he knows how to take a fight to the ground, who's very resilient, who has entertaining fights, who does not back down, who has really good cardio. If that's the case, if that's where we're headed, you know, Rousey's a big draw, McGregor's a big draw, but you got to put GSP Lawler at the top of that show. I mean, you've got to make that the main event. Just because, you know, GSP, he's the last of the old guard. He's the last undefeated champion from the good old days of MMA. You know, Silva's a shell of himself. We saw Aldo lose. We're seeing, you know, all these champions that were really great in 2007, 2008 kind of showed their age. And now, this is GSP's moment to be the symbolic of the old guard on a show that's just going to have, you know, the new guard coming up. But to have the old champion come back, you know, and win his crown back, I think that could be just a really, really, really great moment for the sport. Personally, I'm not a huge GSP fan, but just acknowledging who he is and just being marketable as a name and his background, you know, if he's coming back, he's got to be the headliner. That's just the way it is. So from that, I think UFC 196 puts us in a very, very good predicament for guessing what UFC 200 is going to look like. And I think pretty much the big 4 fighters from UFC 196 will actually be fighting again at UFC 200, just in different elements. So after the events that happened, here's my pick for the big 5 main card bouts for UFC 200 in the wake of the 196 fallout. Main event, George St-Pierre versus Robbie Lawler. Got to go with it for the welterweight championship. Co-main event, I'm going to have Conor McGregor taking on Jose Aldo in a rematch. Third bout from the top. I think you hold off. I think you put Rousey versus Tate on a different show because it's just too top-loaded. It's gonna draw 1 million buys anyway. Put her on a different main event, get another 1 million buys. It's just smart business. Third from the top, I think you're going to have Holly Holm taking on, I don't know, just Tate Korea. I'm just going to go with her. In a number one contender spot. Fourth from the top, I think we bring back Nate Diaz. We put him in a welterweight matchup. You have him taking on Stephen Thompson. Whoever wins gets a crack at the winner of GSP or Lawler. And for the curtain jerker, I think you kind of mixed up. You bring in some light weights. You put in Donald Cerrone, and you give him a fight against Frank Edgar. I know, have him move a weight class. It's very weird booking, but it makes sense. So just from my where we are now, considering everything that happened, that's what I'm picking for the UFC 200 main event, the main 5 matchups, which would be a really, really great show, without question. And like I said, I don't think it really hurts McGregor that he lost. Diaz, we know that he's one of those guys where he gets hot for a while, and then he just gets really lethargic. He stops looking like a championship contender and just looks like a dud. It's happened every time where he goes in there and he looks great for a couple of fights, wins a title eliminator, then goes to championship matchup and just looks like poop. And I think Diaz, we all know, he's not really a competitor at 170. I mean, he's not going to beat GSP. He's probably not going to beat Lawler. He's not going to be able to beat Stephen Thompson if they fight, which would be interesting, though. I think it'd be a very entertaining little brawl. And, McGregor's going to do just fine. He's going to stay at 145. Probably going to temper him at 155 matchups. Holly Holm, it's still a very bankable name. Then she goes and gets one more win. She's back in title contention. Tate, obviously going to take on Rousey. That goes without, statement. And from there, you know what? It just kind of writes itself. Things don't really go as planned a lot in MMA, and frankly, that's why we watch it. And keep my eyes on the ball. It should be a very, very interesting summer considering what we've been set up 196.